Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, January 26, 2021. I'm here with Brandon Macdonald, CEO of Fireweed Zinc. Fireweed trades FWZ on the Venture and FWEDF on the QX, I believe it is, in the US. Fireweed, not shockingly to shareholders, because some hole descriptions had already come out, and these are basement holes. So we had, we were all expecting good results, and we certainly got that in spades. Fireweed just put out the first two holes from the 2020 program this morning from the boundary zone. They are pretty spectacular drill holes, to be honest. I'm going to get Brandon to just kind of walk us through the holes and the implications and what else is still coming, and maybe some big picture ideas about, what they think is going on here now that they've got the 2019 discovery holes and these two new ones. Brandon can't say this under 43101, so I'm going to. I will be extremely surprised if Boundary and Boundary West collectively end up being less than 100 million tons. This is going to be a very, very large resource. And keep in mind, Fireweed already has a very, very large resource at Tom and Jason. Collectively, Mac Pass is, honestly, it's looking like it's probably going to be one of the world's largest zinc deposits when you clump everything together. I just don't see how that doesn't happen at this stage. So there's lots to look forward to. Can you walk us through what you put out today, Brandon, and kind of give us the highlights?
Yeah, so what we put out today, two holes, hole 1 and 2 from boundary zone. This is in the kind of the known boundary zone, so boundary zone proper, boundary zone main, whatever you want to call it. There's two important things about these. First, we drilled them at very different orientations than previous drill holes at boundary zone, which are pretty consistently, they were trying to drill roughly perpendicular to stratigraphy. The concern was, okay, were we getting lucky or unlucky for that matter with how we were intersecting these veins? Were we, getting veins, as we did actually see sometimes veins running straight down core. So you're wondering, geez, are we over-reporting the results? What's the preferred orientation of these veins? What's the ideal drill direction if there is a preferred orientation of the veins? What we found when we went in two radically different directions is there doesn't seem to be a preferred orientation of the veins. This seems to be a true stock work. So, whatever direction you're coming from, you seem to be getting pretty comparable results.
The veins are just kind of cross-cutting each other all over the place.
Yeah, with no just, it's not like sheeted veins with a bunch of parallel or sub-parallel vein systems. It's just all over the place willy-nilly, right? So that's important because it means we don't have to spend a lot of time overthinking drill orientation. We can do what's appropriate for defining the resource, drilling this off. So, hole 1 was, basically perpendicular, and kind of it ran east to west, and hit some good grades. But hole 2 is a more interesting one. It was like straight in the opposite direction from most of the other holes, going from south to north, and it extended the system another 100 meters to depth. It terminated in mineralization. We lost the hole, at 300 plus meters, and it was still being mineralized. So, and still some good intersections at depth. So that's exciting for boundary zone proper in terms of, you talking about the scale potential there. That certainly indicates that there's a lot of untapped potential there. But the headline result, 4.4% zinc over 212 plus meters, pretty incredible, right? And within that, almost 6 meters of 24% zinc. That's an intersection that if you drilled that in Tom and Jason anywhere, just that, and it was completely dead around it, you'd be ecstatic, right? So to drill that and have another 200 plus meter mineralized envelope around it is great news. It really reflects the incredible potential at boundary zone.
And these high grade zones, those are areas where you've got an especially thick concentration of these feeder veins. Is that, and the feeder veins were probably what the stuff came up when it was originally formed. That's kind of the working theory.
Yeah, that is the working theory. Look, we see different pulses of feeder veins. We see lots of different colors of sphalerite depending on what time they came, what phase they came in. We see remobilization. So this is a long-lived system with a very extensive mineralized fluid flux here. So we're not 100% sure on the genesis. And as we saw at Boundary West with the drill results to be determined, we're seeing a very wide range of age of host rocks, and we're not sure if that wide range of host rocks reflects a wide range of mineralization times, or whether the mineralization is more tightly constrained. This is one of the things we're working on, but it certainly looks like a very, very interesting system.
Okay, and one thing too is to the extent you'd even use this term at boundary, the strike would be what? To the
Yeah.
extent strike even works really as a term?
Well, that was one of the questions we had, and in this news release, hole two, you might interpret that as down dip, but down dip the stratigraphy, not the mineralization. We don't know what the mineralization shape is like, and it fattened it up. That was the narrow direction. So is that the thickness, or is the stratigraphy direction the thickness, right? So it's really unclear. We're just still defining the system, but broadly it seems to be striking east-west and dipping into the north, into the hillside. That
Right.
is assuming you believe the mineralization is constrained or at least semi-stratabound. In
Right.
places it is clearly stratabound, particularly in Boundary West, where we saw very clearly stratabound, like Tom Jason style sulfides, barite hosted, and then some totally blown out massive sulfide sections that pretty clearly, I mean, we were pretty sure are stratabound. But the
Right.
vein systems, the feeder systems, I mean, they're clearly cross-cutting stratigraphy, but then are they constrained within one area of stratigraphy? We just don't know yet.
Okay. And I guess as a follow-on, is there anything that you would reasonably call a comparable to this? I mean, I can't, nothing really jumps out at me as a comparable to Mac Pass, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, quite often the tier one projects are the comparable. They're their own comparable as often as
Yeah.
not. Is I mean, more zinc projects than I do. Is there anything that kind of looks like, feels like?
Well, Tom and Jason, have looked like the kind of classic SETX or shale-hosted base metal deposits, the new kind of new nomenclature. But then with Boundary, with this preserved feeder system, you don't see much of that in any of these style deposits. You catch a little glimpse of that at Red Dog, but even that's truncated because Red Dog, it's a lot of sheeted thrust, like imbricated sheets that have been thrust on top of each other. So you actually get the lower bits cut off. So you don't really have much of that preserved feeder. They get a little taste of it, but not a lot of it. And so, and then at the top at Boundary West, you've got stuff that looks a lot like some of the stuff at Red Dog, and not so much like Tom and Jason, but you do see stuff at Boundary West that looks like Tom and Jason. Then you see other stuff in the lower sequence
Right.
at Boundary West that's in the older rocks. It's the same age host rocks as Howard's Pass, which looks very similar to that. But to my knowledge, they don't have these preserved vein feeders at Howard's Pass either. So this, whether or not they just haven't found that at the other systems,
Right.
or whether or not this is something unique about the system at McMillan Pass, we just don't know yet.
Okay. So what's still to come in terms of results? I mean, you only put 2 holes out today, so there's still quite a bit of news to come.
Well, we had 9 holes into broader boundary, and stepping out to Boundary West and beyond. Not all of those are important. I'd say there's 3 more critical holes. Hole 4 was the first one that got kind of a taste of Boundary West. It was drilled on the same side of a major fault as Boundary, and then after it crossed that fault, things started to get very interesting and very well mineralized. So that was the first time we saw that pyrite dominated massive sulfide
Right.
layer. And then we crossed that fault and put in 2 drill holes. The first was hole 7, but that was lost So it's redrilled at hole 9. So hole 9's the second important one. So hole 4 and 9 into Boundary West. And then the last important one to come will be hole 8, which was drilled in between Boundary West and Boundary, tying them together loosely anyways. So
Right.
those are the three to look for. And, hopefully we're seeing results in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The labs, bless their hearts, it looked to be finally picking up steam and working through the batches now.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a substantially shorter a wait for the next one than it was for this first one.
Right. Yeah. No, the lab situation, it's been assay hell for everybody now for 6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
And this year, I mean, obviously with with a set of drill holes like this, it's almost a given that you're moving to go big or go home phase now. And I know it's a bit, at one level it's a bit of a conundrum. I mean, Tom and Jason are there. It's a big resource. It's one you've already got a pretty positive PEA on. But I mean, this, it's a really overused phrase, but Boundary West is, I don't see how it's not a game changer. You're going to have to take a hard look down the road, mind you, at how do you process this stuff? What's the right scale? What order we dig this stuff out in? But and I assume based on that, at this stage, you guys are probably, I know there were people kind of talking about like maybe there's a resource update after 2020, but I mean with this stuff, that makes no sense to me. So I assume you want to get a boatload of drill holes in before you even worry about resource calculations,
Yeah, I
anything
think,
like that.
yeah, there's a if you rush the resource at Boundary, I think you risk setting false expectations or getting people anchored to a number that doesn't reflect reality. I mean, look, this is a problem with any project that's consistently delivering good results, is like people are crying for a resource, but you also know that unsophisticated investors get anchored to numbers that you put up. So
Yeah.
you sometimes don't get a second shot with that investor to convince them it's getting better.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that this summer, if the drill results are simply too good this summer, we might not have a resource, which sounds kind of contradictory, but it's like if all the step outs are hitting and it looks like there's ample room to grow, why put a number on it?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense to me. I don't understand why companies do resource estimates when they don't even really know what the outline of the thing is yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already got, and in your case, it's not like you're saying, well, we got to do this to show that we've got a resource, because you've already got a resource. It just happens to be a few kilometers down the road on the other end of your property. So what do you think? I don't know whether you left stuff. I don't know whether the upgrades, because I know you did some camp upgrading last year. Does that provide any to potentially get in there a little bit earlier? I mean, I know the Yukon's the Yukon, but what's your sense of that this year?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get in a lot earlier this year. There's a chance we're into camp in May and may start doing some drilling in May. We do have a drill at camp,
right?
But you're going to be drilling into Tom or something like that. There's some very good targets there, actually, some good step outs that could be done. So it's not like it's just some boring infill or something like that. But I don't think we get out to Boundary till late June. I suspect
Right.
early. But the idea, hope, fingers crossed, we're able to support a program where instead of 1 or 2 drills, you're hitting it with 4 or maybe 6 drills, right? Like it's just what remains to be seen. Is look, clearly we had traded 1 million shares plus today.
Yeah.
And the day's not over yet, so can we, get some significant investment to do a big program this summer? And that's what we're hoping for. Certainly, it's a day like you put out results like that, and a lot of bankers and funds crawl out of the woodwork and start asking about when your next financing is, right? So that's a positive sign.
Okay. Well, I think we can leave it there for now. I know you've got to get to another meeting. What can I say? Great set of drill results, Brandon.
Yep.
I love seeing the good guys win one, and you and your fellow management team are definitely the good ones. So congratulations again. I know it's there for a problematical reason, but I can't help but admire your assay beard yet again.
Yeah, well, hopefully
Are
it's
you going
the
to start
right 2
trimming
weeks.
now at least that you got a couple of holes out, or are you
No,
going to
no,
be
we're gonna
steadfast?
save it for one giant coup de grace and shave it all off when the last assays come in.
Okay, well, I've suggested that the board get together and make sure that he bronzes this and hangs it in a place of honor in the boardroom once all the assays are back. You don't want to miss a beard like this. It's pretty impressive. But thanks for coming by, Brandon. I'm sure you've got people. I'm sure the phone's ringing off the hook with guys trying to give you money sooner than you actually want it. But I'll let you get back to that. Fireweed Zinc, FWZ on the venture, FWEDF on the QX. Great company, tight share structure, great project, probably the best. Well, I think it's the best exploration zinc project in the world right now. And that it really includes ones that are being drilled by majors. It's Mac Pass is simply a great project. That's all there is to it. Thanks for coming by. I'll talk to you again soon, Brandon.
Thank you. Have a good one.